Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Kuat NV 2.0 2-bike platform rack right here on our 2020 Ford Edge. So the Kuat NV is one of my favorites when it comes to the premium bike racks. You have a really good weight capacity, you have a lot of nice features like your tilt away, your integrated locks, your tray system, the ability to add a ramp. There's so much to this bike rack, but for this video, we'll focus on how it fits on the Ford Edge just to see if it's the right fit for your bicycles as well as your Ford Edge. So first, we'll take a look at the tilt away feature. We have a lever right over here. You're going to want to pull that lever and just let this drop down. Why will you tilt this away? Well, if you want to access your hatch, this is a really easy way to do it. So as you can see here, we have plenty of clearance between our door and our handlebars, allowing us to get into our trunk, grab really whatever we need. So if you want to grab your helmets, your bags, your water real quick, you can do so without even having to take your bikes off. Which also means you can get back onto the road that much faster. To lift it up, you just kind of lift it up and it snaps into place pretty much by itself. Now this does have a weight capacity of 60 pounds per bike. Even if you have your extra heavy, like your heavier electric bikes, perfectly fine with that. I do recommend taking off the battery off of your electric bikes though, just so it's a little bit lighter, plus the battery shouldn't be on the road anyways. But what we have here is a carbon fiber frame bike, which works well with this too. Traditional bike racks usually have a hook that secures it by the frame, and that could possibly warp or crack the frame. What the Kuat NV has is a front wheel mount, so I don't have to worry about that. But also, if you have alternate frame bikes like your women's bikes, your children's bikes, or your step-through bikes, that is a very convenient way of mounting your bike, so you don't need a frame adapter. What's also holding this down is our rear wheel strap. So this just secures the bike by the rear wheel, and when you're ready to take the bike off, you just press that lever on the strap, lift the strap out, and just leave this kind of over to the side so it doesn't get caught up in your spokes when you take the bike off. Then you come over here to the front and hold on to the bike as you do so it doesn't tilt back towards your car. You press this button, you lift this up, you push this out, and if you have a heavier bike, you could attach a ramp at the end and just ramp the bike down. But since this is just a light bike, we just lift this up very, very quickly and we're ready to go on a bike ride. Now I'm just going to set this bike to the side so that we can take a closer look at the bike rack itself. So first, we'll look at the rear tray. We have different things over here. We have this rear wheel strap. This goes down, secures that wheel. You can move this to accommodate different wheelbases. You also have an integrated cable lock. So this goes around a single bike and secures that. You have one on each tray. And then in the front, you have your front wheel cradle. So not as compact as the Kuat Sherpa. You have a larger front wheel cradle with your different grooves. Notice how whether you have your smaller tires or your wider tires, the maximum tire width this can accommodate on its own is 3 inches. But if you get the strap adapter kit, you can carry your fat bike tires with widths of up to 5 inches. So whether you have an electric bike, a fat tire bike, carbon fiber bike, all of them are a fit. You have that front wheel mount, which I talked about earlier. That secures that front wheel, and it folds down to be nice and compact when you don't have your bikes on there. I do recommend please put those straps as well as that front wheel mount away when you are driving around, just so that it lasts a little bit longer that way. Now, whenever you have anything on your hitch, you're gonna wanna make sure that you know the amount of space it takes up behind your vehicle. So we'll take some measurements just to see how much the Kuat NV adds to the back of our Ford Edge. I'm gonna measure right over here where that bumper is. To this version has a bike repair stand, so it sits out over here, and that is about 30 inches away from our bumper. Without the repair stand, it would sit at around 27 inches away. So whenever you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a tight spot, don't forget that you have bikes as well as a bike rack behind you. Since you do have a mid-size SUV, it takes up a fair amount of space, so it's definitely a measurement worth knowing and considering. Now, another measurement we'll take a look at is ground clearance. So underneath the tray where your bikes are sitting, it's going to sit at around 20 inches of ground clearance. Now we're at the shank where Hitches, it sits at about 10.5 inches of ground clearance. So ground clearance is very important for your forward edge because as you go up steep inclines like your driveways or hills, you will want to make sure you have enough ground clearance since your front will go up, your back will go down. This has a really good shank rise. Any hitch accessory you have, please get one that has a shank rise like this so that your bikes sit a bit higher up off the ground. Now, what if you're not planning on taking your bikes out just yet, but you also don't want to take your bike rack off? This has a compact or storage position you can put it into. So remember that lever we used earlier? Pull that lever again, but this time fold the bike rack up against your forward edge. At first it looks like it comes close, but we'll take some measurements to see exactly how close it gets. From our bumper to our front wheel mount, we have it at 2 inches away, and this is a super sturdy bike rack, so it's not getting any closer than that. Now the length added to the back of our forward edge in the compact position, where that tray is, it's about 6 inches, but does stick further out here at the bottom, so that's about 12.5 inches. Big difference compared to when this was folded down. You'll definitely want it in this position when you're just planning on driving around town and you don't want to take up too much extra space. But with it folded up, notice how it works behind our forward edge. Our rear window is completely visible, which is awesome. Our taillights are visible as well. My favorite part is how our rear camera as well as our license plate are also visible. Now the Kuat NV, you can add 2 bike racks to this, so if you have the 4-bike platform, it will cover that backup camera and license plate, but on its own as a 2-bike, this is still seen, so that is great. Now let's talk about how this fits into our hitch. So for the forward edge, you do have 2 options for hitches. You can have an 1.25 inch class 2, or you can have a 2-inch hitch, which is what I have here. The Kuat NV has both different versions, so make sure you get the right shank for your hitch receiver. I have a 2-inch shank on our Kuat NV right now. Since we have a 2-inch hitch receiver, notice how this has a hitch pin as well as a lock on the end. So that lock is key to the integrated cable locks we have on each tray. That way you only need to use one key to access both your bikes and your bike rack. It's also a tool-free install, so you just pop it in and you don't have to use wrenches or sockets or levers. You just have this hand knob, which as you rotate extends a ball cam and creates an anti-rattle effect. So let's do a shake test. As I shake our bike rack, notice how I'm mainly shaking the vehicle, showing how secure that fit is within the hitch receiver. You'll still feel those bumps as you go over on the road, but it'll be a smoother ride for your bikes overall because you don't have added shake from an improper fit between the two. Another thing with it here, notice how we have a bike repair stand for the Kuat NV 2.0. If something happens when you're on the trail, this is a really quick way to get it fixed. Also, the lever is super easy to access. If you're holding your bike with one hand, you can just bring this down with the other. So, my personal thoughts about the Kuat NV is it's still my favorite premium bike rack. It looks really good on the forward edge too. This is the Kuat NV in gray, but you can also get it in metallic black or matte black if you want the version without the repair stand. It checks off all the boxes. You get your really good weight capacity. You get your compatibility with carbon fiber frame bikes. You get your alternate frame bikes as well, and your fat tire bikes. It is on the pricier end, but if you want all those features as well as the ability to add up to it, might be something worth considering. If you are not as interested with the price but want something similar, you could also take a look at the Kuat Transfer if you want the 4-bike option that has a cool gold post design that you might want to check out. But all in all, this was a look at the Kuat NV 2.0 2-bike rack right here on our 2020 Ford Edge.